Yo, yo, what is going on, my friends? I got another informational quote of the day video for you guys today. Pretty pumped about this one, so let's go, let's do it. I've been reading a great book lately, Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. It's Steve Jobs' biography. Excellent, excellent book. And the quote that I'm going to be reading you today comes from a chapter about probably my favorite aspect of Steve Jobs, and that was his reality distortion field. He had the ability to bend reality to his will, like a strong man bends a steel fucking bar. So here's the quote about it. It was dangerous to get caught in Steve's reality distortion field, but it was what led him to be able to actually change reality. The reality distortion field was a confounding melange of a charismatic rhetorical style, indomitable will, and an eagerness to bend any fact to fit the purpose at hand. Love that quote. Love the description of what that reality distortion field consisted of and what the experience of being around it was like. It must have been a whole nother crazy thing to be in the same room with Steve Jobs. I wish I could have experienced it. Unfortunately, I just have to read about it. And the reason that I'm telling you this specific quote is because there's a golden little nugget embedded within it. If you read Steve Jobs' biography, there's an entire chapter about his reality distortion field and his ability to assert his will in a way that was incredibly difficult to argue against. And one of the techniques that he used, they interviewed some of his co-workers, Steve Wozniak, Andy Hertzfeld, this one chick, I can't remember her name, but they talked about the way that he would do this and what it was like being in a meeting with him or a conference with him and him setting this undoable, crazy deadline that everyone in their head knew was totally astronomical, but in his presence seemed plausible. And they talked about the techniques that he would use to make these strange, crazy, insane, but reality distorting arguments. And one of the techniques that he used was he would take an extreme position on one side. For example, we have to have the Macintosh finished by January 1st, 1982. And this was, October. They had 1/4, 3 months to do it. And everyone in their heads would be like, no, that's insane. We can't do it for this reason. We don't have the manufacturing. We don't have the manpower. We need to work 100 hours a day, blah, 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 blah. And what he would do is he would temporarily take their side and say, yes, you're right. We can't do it, blah, 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 blah. But when he was on their side, he would pull out new facts that hadn't been brought into the argument yet. And he would use those facts to adjust the other person's position kind of back towards his position, and he would use those facts to convince the other side of the argument why that argument was actually made sense within his own argument. And they said it was this uncanny ability because it would confuse you, temporarily almost stun you into agreement. Oh yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, you're on my side now. But then he would randomly switch over to the other side, and you'd come with him because it was impossible to resist. And I thought that was just incredible, cool, and really admirable that he was able to have that intense of an effect on people's perception of reality. that profound of an effect on people's worldview and what they were capable of too. They talked about how they were able to do things that most people would consider impossible simply because when Steve Jobs spoke, he made it sound possible. And I'm telling you this technique because you can use it in any argument you're in. It doesn't even have to be an argument. Could be a formal debate, could be a negotiation, or it could be a conversation with your friend about whether Colin Kaepernick is within his rights to be suing the NFL. You know, you could have one position, they could have another position, but try switching positions, taking the other person's side, agreeing with them, but then maybe illuminating a portion of that position that the other person didn't see, they weren't aware of. Pulling in new facts or adjusting old facts and putting them in a different context could all of a sudden make them see that their position was different than they originally thought it was, and you're slowly but surely distorting the reality of the situation or the circumstance that you're talking about. It's a powerful, powerful tool, and you should use it. That's it. Have a great fucking day! Peace.